Hi, I'm Dennis Phillips, and welcome to Everyday Reloading and Shooting. All right, as you can see, I've reconfigured my setup here. I got rid of the bipod, and I've got these two blocks that I put together, and I've got a rice fill sock, and that's going to give me a little better elevation. The other bipod that I had on here was pretty wobbly, and so I think this is going to be a lot more stable, and we're going to have a lot better result with this setup. So we shall see here in a moment. As you can see, today we're shooting loads of IMR3031 at 22.2 to 24.3 grains of powder, and we're going in increments of 1/2 grain with velocities from 2960 to 3240. And I'll be shooting a warming group first before we start, but we'll be shooting at 100 yards. So I'm hoping having a little more stable platform will give me better results with my shooting here. We shall see. I'll be shooting 5 10-shot groups at each charge weight. As always, you're welcome to enjoy the music while I fast forward through my shooting, or you can skip forward to the results at the end. Shooting at 100 yards. All right, these all performed really well, so let's bring them in and take a look. Okay, this was my barrel warming / barrel fouling group, and I shot 5 shots. I only see 4 holes here. I know that that was my first one, and that was my second one, and this is 3, 4, and the 5th one is in here somewhere. So anyway, after that, after these first 2 shots, I adjusted it 3 clicks up so as to not destroy my point of aim. But look at here. Got a real tight cluster here. That was my last shot. That was a flyer off to the side. Another really tight group here. These are 10-shot groups too, folks. So we've got 9 clustered really tight right there. Another probably right out of 1-inch group, definitely under 1 inch. And this is probably right at 1 inch. I've got 9 clustered here with 1 off on its own right here, touching the bullseye. So we will take these home, measure them, and see how they did. I really like this Works chassis. I've got one complaint though. When you cycle the action, you have to push the magazine forward. Otherwise, the round sticks on the ramp and it won't chamber. So that's an aggravation. I need to contact MDT about that, find out if there's a fix for that. But anyway, it's a really good shooting rifle. I'm very pleased with it overall. And my setup has improved a little bit. This block is a little large for what I need, so I'm going to have to trim that down a bit. But overall, very pleased with how today went. All right, so let's take them home, measure them, and see how we did. All right, we're going to talk about the day at the range here. And just to give you a little background here, I'm new with this rifle setup. I added this MDT Oryx chassis to it a little over a week ago, and I'm still getting adjusted to the ergonomics of this rifle. I had a video earlier, and you see me shooting, and that rifle has a Magpul bipod attached to the front, but it's kind of wobbly, and I was looking online for a better bipod, and I was amazed that some of those are like $500 and $600. I couldn't believe that. But it's different because the bottom of the buttstock is flat. It has two different elevations. I have a sock filled with rice, which I use for a squishy bag. And here I have a couple of 2x6 blocks that have been cut down and attached together. And I think I'm going to go to just one. So for this session, I decided to shoot without the bipod because it was kind of wobbly. So I removed that. And then I'm trying to get the rear stock adjusted so I can adjust my elevation. And so you'll see here in this photograph that I had two blocks of wood that I've attached together. Those are 3 inches tall, and I had that under the forward part of the flat part of the stock here. And it was a little uncomfortable because it was kind of close to my grip and the blocks a little wider than it needed to be. And so what I'm going to do next time is I'm going to use one block under the flat part towards the rear of the rifle and use that with my rice fill sock squishy bag. And we'll see how that performs. But let's get to today's results. I was very pleased with how this rifle shot in spite of the fact that I had trouble getting comfortable with it. So here we're shooting that Tikka T3X 223. We're shooting Hornady 52 grain boat tail hollow point bullets, and we're shooting with IMR3031 powder at Georgia Gun Club's 100-yard indoor rifle range. I'm using Hornady twice fired brass with Federal Gold Medal match primers. These are seated at 2.23 inches, and all of these groups below are 10-shot groups. So let's go to the first one. And if you've watched my videos for any length of time, you know that I've always shot 5-shot groups and that I'll measure the best 4 out of 5 and average those. But I've learned a new way of measuring, and that's by mean radius. And that also involves using the Hornady Ballistics app and their group analysis function contained in that app. So here's my first group, and here's a photo to the right of the group analysis that I just referred to. And as you can see on both it and on the target here, I've marked the average point of impact with a red vertical and horizontal line. The center of the target was my point of aim. But here, on this particular group, we had an extreme spread because I had this flyer here. Otherwise, I had 9 out of 10 grouped here. If you take the flyer out, that would have been a 0.8 inch group with a 0.22 mean radius. But instead, because of the flyer, I had a 1.27 group, but I had a 0.29 mean radius. And that's the benefit here of measuring by mean radius, because that tells you more than extreme spread does. Because if you only look at extreme spread, that was a lousy group at 1.27 inches. But when you look at the mean radius, you see how these 9 shots are clustered together right here. And the average point of impact is very close to the point of aim. And that's at 22.2 grains of IMR 3031. All right, so we move on to 22.7 grains at 3,027 feet per second. We have an extreme spread of just under an inch at 0.90, and we have a mean radius of 0.20 inches. And that's including the flyer here. You see how tight these are clustered together? That's 9 shots right there. And with the one flyer, if you were to take out the flyer, we would have had an extreme spread of 0.40 inches and a mean radius of 0.14. So 9 out of 10 shots right there at 0.40 inches. And I noticed too, as we look at these, that the average point of impact, if you look at this vertical line, it begins moving to the right. It starts here close to the aiming point, then it begins to move a little further right, then a little further right, a little further right, and then a little further right. And I think what that is, I think that's the heavier charge weight being produced is causing that bullet, of course, as it travels down the barrel is rifled, meaning it causes the bullet to twist, to spin and stabilize the bullet. So at the heavier charge weights, that bullet is going to torque that barrel more and cause it to twist, because for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So that's going to cause that twisting, and that would explain that change in the point of impact horizontally, getting larger. At 23.2 grains of IMR3031, we're traveling at 3,093 feet per second. And we had an extreme spread. This was a very tight group of 0.88 inches. Again, that's on 10 shots, so I'm very pleased with that. And we had a mean radius of 0.34 inches. And of course, the average point of impact is, with that barrel torquing, it's not only shooting to the right, it's also starting to shoot a little bit low. It's weird though, because it must be torquing differently somehow, because in these subsequent loads, it's still shooting to the right even further, but now it's starting to shoot higher. As you notice, this was our average point of impact on 10 shots right here. It gets closer to the horizontal plane of our aiming point and gets even higher. It's above that plane on our fifth group. Going with 23.7 grains, I thought this was probably my best group of the day, because we had an extreme spread. Again, I'm going to say this again, 10 shots, 0.58 inches at 100 yards, and the average mean radius of 0.21 inches. And then when we go to 24.3 grains, we're now traveling at a zinging 3,240 feet per second. We're still grouping under an inch at 0.95 inches with a mean radius of 0.29 inches. And here's our average point of aim. And look at how all of these are clustered together. You could cover that with your thumb. And we've got a flyer here that caused that extreme spread to be 0.95. Without that, you're probably looking at a 0.6 inch group there. All right, so what do we learn from here? Someone in one of the reloading forums suggested that group 2 was actually my best group, because even at 0.90 inches, if you take out that flyer, you've got a 0.4 inch group and a 0.14 mean radius. And he suggested starting at that load and increasing 0.3 of a grain from there to the 23.7. So you go 22.7 to 23, then 23.3, then 23.6, and try those out. So anyway, these shot really well for me. You might want to give this load a try. These are all within the specs shown in the Hornady manual. Some manuals will show the maximum charge weight at 24.5. The Hornady manual shows it at 25.5. I can tell you your case is going to be pretty much full if you charge it at that charge weight. But always start low and work your way up, and you should have some success. Okay, and I'll see you next time. So if you have any ideas or thoughts about this video, please feel free to leave a comment below. Or if there's anything that you would like to see in the future, please let me know that. I always try to interact with everyone who comments. And I hope that you will like and share this with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.